Craig Waddingham is going to get us underway. 50 minutes have been added on to that match clock. Race to 7 as always here at the Pro Series, and the Silver Sniper will get us underway. And he's going to keep the cue ball on the table. Simon Webb and Mark Shepherd on the call for you for this one. And what a first shot Scott Gillespie's going to have here, Mark.
Yeah, not quite what he was imagining. What a semi-final that we've got here, though. Scott Gillespie has really just continued in this tournament where he left off at the European Open. Came through a 128-man field in that one. Played so well, it was almost one of those ones you just wondered whether he could come to another tournament and carry on, or whether when he'd finally won that trophy after a bit of a drought, that would just be a relief and he'd take his foot off the gas. I don't think he loves where he's been left. Yeah, the facial expression, not entirely positive about this leave. It's better than the alternative of his opponent having a good clearance, though. Craig Waddingham looks to have enjoyed his day. Really positive in his interview after his quarter-final match. Liking the table. I guess that sort of goes without saying for the players that have made the semi-final.
It is, but it's also the players that haven't made the semi-final have been saying it. I mean, we've been going on about this all weekend long. It's well, I keep saying weekend long. We're only on Friday, but I've talked about it for the last 2 days. I haven't yet found a player that has not enjoyed the table. They really are all enjoying that it is tighter. It's putting more pressure on them. Also helps when your name's Craig Waddingham and you always seem to hit the centre of pockets, although that one just grazed the jaw as I say it, but he's such a clean potter of the ball that it doesn't seem to make too much difference to him.
And that becomes a real advantage, because when you're playing opponents that you consider are less good QS who are still getting the balls in just as well as you are, it's a bit of a leveller, whereas on this table we can see you've got to cue the ball properly. Not very easy to call a winner between these two, as we see Craig overdo that positional shot. He was attempting to stay level with that red to take it to the opposite corner.
That may be the worst shot we see Craig Waddingham play in this whole match. That may be the worst shot he's played in the tournament, in all honesty. I can't believe how far he's out percentage-wise. I mean, he was only trying to move the cue ball a turn and he's gone about 4 turns.
Didn't really look at it. I don't know if that ball to the left of the 8 ball would have potted. I don't think he was remotely thinking of playing position on it, but it actually landed almost in a gap. Either way, he goes bottom right and comes up short. We've seen a couple of moments like that. The moment yesterday when Chris Melling was trying to roll a ball in the centre pocket and overdid it and just rolled the white in afterwards, which is something you feel you'd never see. He was probably trying to borrow a bit of the pocket and ended up catching it a bit straight. Well, a couple of loose shots from both players, having hyped up what quality QS they both are.
That was tough though from Scott. That's not an easy ball.
See, it wasn't very far wide, but bounced heavily off that far jaw. It's turning into a bit of a scrappy frame now. No attacking option for Craig, so just trying to get some kind of cover with the white.
What was your take while they're playing this tactical exchange of that first semi-final? I mean, we talked about it, and we don't mean this in any way disrespectfully to Mark or Cole. It was just not the semi-final anyone was expecting to see. I mean, you know, they're both capable of making those runs. We've seen Mark make semi-finals before and Cole quarter-finals, but to see them both do it in that section is quite incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to see relative outsiders have their moment in the limelight. I mean, it's all relative. They're both very high-quality players. I was surprised really to see them there, but the fact they both got through. It was maybe a slight feeling that Cole was a little bit flatter in that semi-final than he had been some of the earlier rounds. I know we talked a bit about the fact that he was targeting a semi-final run right from the beginning of the tournament as the sort of metric as to whether he'd retain pro status for next year. I don't know whether there was some element of relief that he'd got that hurdle. And
it's almost as though he climbed his mountain, didn't he, to make the semi-final. Although he didn't play, it's not as though he really fell off in that semi-final. He still played a good level. It was actually a high-quality match, both of them playing well.
Yeah, Mark played really well. I mean, both of these two players here are going to be feeling like this is probably the more difficult of the matches they'll play, but make no mistake, Mark Fleming's in good form. It's not a foregone conclusion that whoever gets through here is going to have an easy run in the final.
It is fair to say, though, whoever wins this match will be the favourite for the final, but that's, you know, in ultimate pool terms, races to 8 as it will be in the final are on a knife edge, and, you know, in any one-off match, it's just tough to call anyone a big favourite.
That's good and bad. Of course, we've had different formats. We had the Masters earlier in the year with very long races. Ultimate Pool puts on a pretty wide range of tournaments, from like the last man standing, very quick fire stuff, to those really long multi-session matches.
Of course, Craig Waddingham winning one of the shorter finals in the Champions League, our big Monday night television show. He won the Champions League, and that was 2 sets of races to 4. Very short and sharp.
Just seems to be the way it's gone with his career in Ultimate Pool. He's had success in the Masters and the Champions League, more so than the Pro Series. Though his first season, after that amazing Challenger run in 2021, in 22 he had a good few deep runs in Pro Series, was in the semi-finals on a regular basis, it seemed, for a few months there.
Another one gets away. This opening frame is getting scrappy. It just won't come easy for either player, and the balls that are being missed aren't particularly easy balls that are being missed, but we are seeing some misses, maybe some edginess out there to start this semi-final, but all frames count. Whoever wins this one will feel very positive, and the loser will be the exact opposite, so really important to forget what's gone and try and get one on the board here. It's going to be tough for Craig, though. That red at the top is absolutely in a world of trouble. Even if he can see the red to bottom left to be able to pot it and swing the cue ball up the table, still can't do a lot with it.
This match still being played to the same format. It's only once we go to the final that we get to the longer race to 8, so this level race to 7 can happen pretty quickly. A good start, always important.
What's he got for us then? Looking at the long double. Not sure if that's on. Might be. Thin clip, is that on?
Yeah, is the thin clip on? I think. Well, it looks like it's loading up for the double rather than the clip.
No, not to be. Sometimes you can't be critical of going for it in that situation. He's behind. He's got no way of winning a tactical exchange, so you might as well throw your arm at one and maybe you make a long double like that. But in truth, that was quite a long way away. Still not come easy for Scott Gillespie, though.
No, and that's the other reason why sometimes you are actually better to have a go at a shot like that, because you can leave an awkward position. Played a good cue ball. You can see he was on the 8 ball if he pots it, and forces Scott into a double of his own.
And Scott's turn to get lucky. Well, that could have ended up absolutely anywhere, and he's put the red dead.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe this may not be just a hit and hope job or trying to find something speculative, because the yellows are awkward at the top of the table. So is there any way to try and track the red towards a pocket and get the cue ball middle of the bottom cushion? Because that wouldn't leave anything on. Played to loss a turn, tried to get the yellow off the table, and if he had have got the yellow off the table, the cue ball's in the perfect position. That's not quite worked for him.
Yeah, a bit unlucky that the yellow's hung there. Had a chance of potting it, or it could have rolled safe down one of the cushions. That would have been of a similar effect. Scott's just coming round to see the 3 yellows on the left-hand side of the table. I'm not sure any of them actually pot clean. Unable to force his way over there, or is he just going to have to play a containing shot after? Bottom 2 certainly don't go. May just be able to sneak the top one in. If not, he's going to play a safety. Oh, he could just get it through. That was perfect. Suddenly the frame has opened up for him. Certainly feels like of the players in the tournament, he's the one that has probably had the most consistent run. Just really that 6 red against Aaron Davis. That was the only moment when it looked like he could lose a match. He was 5-3 up in that one before Aaron got it back to 5-all for the 6 red. You could see what it meant to him though. Real quality of pool being played. Just wandering around some of the outside tables just before this. The challenger players may not be big names, but watching people smash balls down the rails that we're talking about on this main table being a difficult shot.
The standard in the game is very, very high and very, very deep.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that, isn't it? It's the depth of it, the number of challenger players that can potentially win. Makes that field a complete lottery. Jaden Billingham and Rab McCulloch at the top of the challenger rankings at the moment. They're in pole position, well, pretty guaranteed already promotion to the pro ranks. A few other players immediately behind them vying to join them. And events like this are a reminder of what you're playing for. When you're in the challenger competition, most of the time you're playing in the outside tables. Same tables, same great playing conditions, but obviously not as big an arena. And when you're not playing, you come over and watch the pros, and you think that could be me next year. Both of these players, you get the feeling, enjoy being out in this arena. Some of the players that don't play as regularly in the main arena table sometimes struggle a bit to bring their A game when they do get this chance. These two, because they've had these good runs, it feels like we've seen a lot of them anyway out here over the last day and a half. In any event, they've both had so much experience in the limelight.
I've no doubt it's where they want to play their pool the most. We see a lot more players that make it deep. Oh, that's a surprising miss from Craig. It really is. Okay, the couple of misses he had in the opening frame weren't as surprising as the one there. The misses in the opening frame were a little bit trickier than that, and also, you know, we had problems with the cue ball to go with it. This one was fairly routine. Cue ball was travelling a long way, of course, but big miss.
Feels like already in the first frame and a half we've seen a lot of balls being rattled in the jaws of the corner pockets.
And this is another very messy layout. I mean, now that he's missed there, I mean, you could have made the case for Wad could have found a clearance. It wasn't going to be easy. There was a chance, but there's nothing on here for yellows. So there's nothing on for Scott Gillespie. So he's going to have to be patient, and that's going to start tying up reds. We've just seen our first semi-final rattle along at a fair old pace with both players making plenty of finishes, and here we are. Well, we're already coming up to 37 minutes, and we're only 1.5 frames in.
That's definitely not a stat you'd have predicted in these two players. Kind of a free hit that. Nice bit of cueing from Craig. Knew that although he was going to leave a pot on a yellow, because the table's so messy, it would have been horrible to have missed. Although the one thing he really doesn't want to do is leave Scott any kind of access to play a loss of turn shot to the top right hand corner.
I think he's having a big dip here, big double. Yeah, great shot, but well, that's okay. It depends how he feels about the red into right centre. Even then, if he does manage to play that and stay on the plant, when he plays the plant, that red should spit away from the pocket. This is tough. Yeah,
as you say, the problem with that red over the pocket resting on the jaw, as we've seen, these pockets just aren't that big. So, well, he's played this quite cleverly because he's got a wide angle. So now he could embrace the fact that it's going to go wide and play the cue ball over to the left-hand side. He's going to have to just find a gap either to the left or between the two groups of yellows.
Plant isn't as easy as it looks. It's very clever to play it off the cushion as much as he did, but has he got the... Don't think so.
It's a really tough ask, that, getting position. That yellow right in the middle of the break line plays massively in the line he was coming in on. The problem as well is that it's no good to him. He can come off the left-hand side cushion and he's going to come close to potting it, you'd fancy, but that doesn't really do much for him because then the cue ball will just be stuck.
I might have to hit this quite hard. looks a little wild, but if he just comes off gently and just bumps it over the pocket, that he eventually loses that tactical exchange. So trying to pull out a miracle shot. Scott Gillespie in the driving seat of this frame.
Easy snooker, of course, if he wants to play it. Red's not in a terrible spot from Wadd's point of view, because it is in a spot in the middle of the table where if he was to get some kind of shot at it off a cushion, he'd have a chance of making it. Scott can go for these if he wants to, obviously. Just got the one cluster top right. Play this ball to the right and centre, and then either continue with the clearance, or if he wants to perfect the cluster top right, he can play a safety off one of those balls and promote the other. Just go a bit further than he wanted to for either of those options. Just, well, he's going to try and clip this in and cannon off the top cushion. Not bad. The only issue with playing it that way round is you're always knocking the balls away from their obvious pocket, so you're trusting a bit to luck whether you land nicely on one to the centre.
He should be fairly happy with the outcome there. I was kind of going into it losing a little bit of control, but tricky shot coming up, but it's not too bad. Wow, I say it's not too bad. He did not expect that.
That's a really bad miss in every sense of the word. It's a surprising miss, but he's left Craig plumb on the red as well.
I'm actually a little bit surprised he played that one. I actually thought he'd go the other way, the left hand, one of the two together, drop it in the right centre, and then use the one at the bottom of the table to get back in line. He's made his decision to come back across, and well, that's come back to really haunt him. And he's allowed the Silver Sniper into the match, 1-1, and well, we're coming up on 17 minutes of play. But now both players are on the board. Will we see the balls open up and be a little bit kinder? Well, we certainly are here. This is a good layout for Craig Waddingham.
Neither player has been anywhere near their best. Craig has perhaps done a bit less to be reproaching himself for so far. This match is going to change though. Obviously we haven't really seen anything particularly material so far. Nothing between the players scoreboard wise. Not necessarily why they're downplaying the shots, but is it also going through both of their heads that they could be seeing this as the final and thinking that the next match gets a bit easier?
I don't think either player will think like that, in all honesty, Mark. I really don't. I think they've probably got too much respect for the game and too much respect for Mark Fleming, especially Scott Gillespie. Knows how well Mark Fleming can play. So I think it's just a case that this is just a major semi-final and the balls will come out a little bit sticky so far.
You'd certainly say, based on the way Mark played in that quarter-final, he's not going to be far behind. I don't think he's going to start as the favourite against either of these guys, but it's not going to be a long outsider by any means. So nice to see a player like Mark Fleming rewarded. He's been around at the upper levels of the game for quite some time. It's not necessarily a name that you always pick as the potential winner, but he's definitely someone that everyone knows how good he is.
Also, I think it's a big one for the belief in that you can win at this stage. So many players will say it, but to actually really believe it and turn up and deliver, especially when you go through spells, as all the players do, and certainly the further down the rankings you go, where you might be turning up and not getting too much action because you're, hold your breath here for a second, just about pulls up, ends up perfect. But yeah, you've got to deal with a lot of losses to then suddenly be ready to win when the chances come along. And credit Mark with a lot of credit for mentally staying in the right place to put this run together. And who knows, that run might take him to a Pro Series title, which could dramatically change things for him in his ball career.
And it's also a good incentive for all the other players looking on that are in the sort of middle of the rankings, the 30s, 40s, thinking that maybe they're normally just scrapping around for a few wins, whereas when they see somebody that's in that kind of area going the whole way to a final, why not them as well? Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I mean, so many pool situations that are like that, aren't there? 50-50 decisions, it's just what you make of it.
Cue ball stays on the table, but nothing else is going to drop.
It's been quite a while adjusting himself for that shot, just making sure you're in the right position. Can't quite catch it right.
So far in the tournament, Scott Gillespie hasn't really had to come from behind at any time. He's been pretty plain sailing, obviously up until the quarter-final where he was pegged back to a 6-red shootout, but he was never behind. He was always in control of the match. It just happened to get away at the end to the 6-red, whereas, Craig can put one in here and make it 3-1. All of a sudden, Scott Gillespie's going to have to do something that he hasn't done in the tournament, and that's come from behind. So, big frame right now for Craig to maybe start to stretch something, because he has the next break, and he just broke cleared. This isn't easy, but it's also very much within his scope.
It's only very subtle things, but if you just look at their body language, not that Scott's giving away any frustration, but Craig just looks a little bit more relaxed, just getting a bit more table time.
Craig Waddingham quietly has one of the best temperaments in the game, and that's never changed. I've never seen him show any frustration out there, ever. Mentioned this earlier on when he was playing. He's such a good attitude for the game when he's out there playing. He misses one here, but also win or lose, he just moves on. Dusts himself down. There's another tournament round the corner. If he keeps putting himself in there, he will win them.
Well, with the Pro Series, that's really the name of the game, isn't it? We've got 10 Pro Series events over the course of the season, 5 weekends of pairs of tournaments. You're not going to win all of them. Tom Cousins gave it a pretty good shot, even he couldn't quite manage that in his amazing run last year. Just got to keep entering, keep putting up the standard, and then sooner or later it will be your time.
Keep grinding it out. Especially as well, I mean, this is the Pro Tour. There is a lot of money up for grabs, okay, not compared to other sports, and the majority of the players on the tour aren't full-time players yet. Some of them want to be. I know that Craig Waddingham has aspirations to be. Essentially Tom Cousins is, as is a few other players. But you just keep grinding out results, and you might turn up to a tournament and find a last 16, a quarter-final or a semi-final, but come the end of the season, it all adds up. Big titles is obviously what they all want and all looking for, but the deeper you can keep grinding out, the more money you're going to make.
The deeper you go, the more matches you play, which in turn gets you in better shape for the next one.
Yeah.
And that's been a case in point with Scott Gillespie. That run of too many early round defeats for parts of last season. This year he's been at the business end, been somewhat more of him. It's very hard to stay at the top of the game, isn't it? Scott Gillespie, there was a period before COVID, he looked like he was establishing himself really as an absolute top sort of 3 or 4 player. And things changed. Been really the tale all the way through Ultimate Pool. We've seen a few different players have their periods of domination.
Tom's has lasted the longest though. Tom's hasn't stopped yet. I know he's lost first round here, but he's still been the player of the season. He was the player of last year. He's the player of this year. Okay, there's still a couple of people that can maybe have a great back end to the year and maybe get in the conversation, but so far he has 3 titles this year. John McAllister has a couple. Scott Gillespie's trying to win his second, but Tom's still out in front with 3.
Yeah, I mean the run that Tom was having coming into the World Championships, won the World Masters. Feels like really at that stage of the season the only thing that went wrong was not winning the 3rd world title. And
I'm giving him his 3 titles, and I'm not including the World Masters as well, the WPF World Masters we saw on here on Ultimate Pool TV. So that's throw in the fourth title if you like. Yeah.
I mean, the run he had to that Masters was Tom Cousins at his absolute best. He was just steamrolling people.
No one could touch him.
And it felt like when we were commentating on that he was going to translate that and then go and win that third world title, which he's been searching for a few years now, back to 2014 when he won his second title.
It's a nice shot from Scott, and he's going to get this one. Great counter following Craig Waddingham's miss to the corner. This has been excellent. Needed something positive to happen. And something positive has happened, and we're all scared at 2-2.
Felt for a large part of this year that it was going to be his year, and then Ronan just made that comeback in the end. Oh, he just finds one of the last balls rolling.
Tough first shot coming up here, though. It's a brilliant layout. It really is, but he doesn't have an opening ball. You want to be reds. This will be interesting. This will be really interesting. If we were on... no, maybe not. I was about to say, if we were on our previous tables, would he take the red on down the cushion? But he can't. He's hampered over the... I thought he could get to the side of the yellow, but he can't. So no, he really doesn't have any options on reds. Or does he?
He's got the long red to
he's
the
got a gap.
bottom right corner.
There's a gap. He still can't quite get to the centre of the cue ball.
He used his extension, so he's going to have to play this quickly.
No, and that's as far away from a pot as I've ever seen Craig Waddingham be. He missed that by a long, long way.
Good cue ball, though.
Yeah.
Obviously not as intended, because that wasn't where the ball was meant to be struck.
I think there's a few things going on there when you look at the replay. He's having to cue with a bit of side, but it's almost the closer he gets to the potting angle, the closer he gets to hitting the yellow with his shot. But as you say, what a result that is. Absolute dreamland result.
He felt like he had to go for that pot because the reds were just so nice, and what was he going to do otherwise? Same equation here though for Scott. He really wants to be reds, but he obviously can't from the position he's in, so going to try and play some kind of containing shot.
I wondered whether touching ball was called. It wasn't.
Again, Craig can only see a yellow. Yeah, not quite a touching ball. Decided to have a go in the end at that yellow. Be pretty happy with the result. He didn't desperately want to be yellow, so the safety shot stuck behind one of them suits him okay. That's good though.
Craig will be over the moon with that. Yellow in the middle of the table may have just stuck to the red. Only problem now on yellows.
Not the colour set that either player initially wanted, but forced to go for that. And had a good angle to go for that breakout. And that tells you that the ball must go bottom right. Oh, maybe not. The way he played that, it looked like he was playing a precise positional shot onto the ball nearest the cue ball. Well, no matter. We saw this a fair bit earlier on. There were times he'd slip out of position, but then always seemed to come up with a cannon he needed to keep the break going. It's very good with those kind of delicate cannons. He seems to have the cue ball under really tight control. Which, funnily enough, he's not always as bothered by in his basic pattern play. He sometimes leaves himself at distance, but when he really needs to cannon a ball, he seems to have the millimetre accuracy that he needs. Going to have to play back for position on the ball along the top rail. He has to leave an angle to come back down the table, but not too much angle such that it makes the pot missable.
Quite a tight line he's got to find here. Not guaranteed to land at all.
Natural path is going to be coming a bit too far to the right hand side of the table, so he's going to have to just get into the cue ball a little bit, but you don't want to get into it too much, otherwise you... Oh, that's beautiful.
It really is. Just played it with a trace just to hold it down the centre of the table. Pace control, absolutely top draw, and a brilliant visit to the table here. I think when Scott Gillespie sat down and he'd left the yellow on, he was probably hoping that Craig would go for them. Craig's got them. I also think that's because he got round the table and realised that the pot into the centre wasn't as guaranteed as he was hoping, and had to absolutely make sure. Oh no, Scott's just not having it out there right now. Break is brilliant. Look at this leave. 2 frames on the trot. He's got this situation, which is horrible. And 3rd time in the match. That's poor. Poor form for him.
You can see on his face. I think he's still can't quite believe. Oh, he's going to have to get on with it. He doesn't really want to use his extension here, does he? He's going to have to.
What does he do though? He doesn't want Greg to take on a finish. He's just taken out a really tough finish, and I guess he wants him to have a sight at a yellow but nothing else. But how do you stop him having a shot at a red? This is really tough.
Yeah, he's going to have to try and
must
come off the jaw.
Must be touching ball, yeah. Didn't hear that call from the referee, but it must have been touching ball. So he has found a safe area of the table. Safe-ish area of the table, I should say.
Just quickened up a little bit, but still 30 minutes gone already. Averaging 6 minutes a frame, which I'd say is probably about double what you'd have expected for these two.
Beautiful piece of cueing. So he has got the tougher set. Yellow's a tricky one nearest the top left-hand corner, obviously is the problem.
Position where he can really play it as a plant to the top right. The other ball's too far from the pocket. He's got an angle here if he did want to go and try and promote it. You could play the yellow onto red as a combination. Obviously not from here, you'd need to be right behind it. It's a bit too close to the cushion though for that to really be a comfortable shot.
Gonna have to play it though. I think it's in the jaws enough. He's right in the pocket. He's right behind it. I think he'll be happy. He's fairly confident with what he's got here. Yeah, no problems whatsoever. Beautiful shot. And he's gone about this so efficiently. And right now, Scott Gillespie will be sat in his chair, kicking himself with his luck out there. Not necessarily how he's played, just the form of the rolls after the break have not been kind to him. It's excellent. It's absolutely excellent. And this is probably the best leave in the whole match. Deserved it though. Break was crunched. Look at that. Right up the middle of the table. Flushed. No spin. Just absolutely what you're looking for. And just a really delightful layout to try and pick apart. I actually thought he might be tempted on his first shot to bring the cue ball further down the table and leave the one he just played as his penultimate shot. If he gets straight on that one top left, it gets him left centre, 8 ball bottom left corner as his last 3 balls. And he could have pulled it back quite a bit further and had a choice of balls down the table to do that. The one left centre is the most obvious last ball, but now he needs to make sure he tracks to get somewhere near the straight on it, whereas he had the ball to get straight on it.
It's in his favour that the fact the top right hand side of the table is quite empty means that there's a reasonably big area to play for. We've talked about this a few times. It's never ideal when you're trying to play for a straight shot. If you end up too high on the ball to the left centre, it's not easy to get position on the 8 ball.
That's a strange one. That is a strange one.
Well, looks like he's played for it a shot too soon. Still got the ball bottom right. Well, not necessarily potting to the bottom right, but the bottom right quadrant of the table he's got to deal with as well.
Still get out here, but he's going to have to really dig out a shot on and off the side cushion, back out to the straight. he's okay. He can just pinch the pocket, I think. He's down quickly, tells us he can. Yeah, right off the duel, no problems at all.
In the end, it was a great finish, but made to look a bit harder than perhaps it seemed like it would need to be.
Gets him a couple away. 5-2 in front. Craig Waddingham now leads. If he can find the break, but it's not happening for him. This time the cue ball finishes in a good spot, but he doesn't make a ball.
This has been a bad run the last few frames in terms of any 50-50 position. Just seems to have gone against him. Hit that break fairly well. You can see how many balls have found their way to the top of the table. It's not as easy a clearance as the one that Craig had off his own break, but we saw the previous two frames, he took out high tariff finishes, so no reason to think he won't fancy the look of this one. I'm sure he's going to fancy the look of it quite so much from that position.
No, that's a poor one. Just as he was getting the some rhythm and his tail up, a really poor positional shot. I don't see how he can continue the visit here.
Although, will that turn out to be a good thing? That was a clearance I think he'd have felt obliged to go for, but it did have a bit of difficulty to it. Now that he's bailed out, will he get a better chance? You're 5-2 down, you've been frozen away from the table. You obviously ideally want to have a go at something. Definitely not going to be able to from where he is at the moment. He's not had a great track record with leaving half chances. Been quite ruthlessly dispatched. This is a tricky opening shot though if he does want to go for anything attacking. Well, played that with a lot of pace. I think at that speed it was odds against that he was going to make the pot.
Big moments in this match then. Scott Gillespie with a chance to get one on the board, but it's not easy, and it's one he needs to find.
Decent chance, just got the one ball that's in a semi-guarded spot, which is just coming around to look at now on the top left side. May be able to get through to the potting angle. If not, he's got balls around it that he could use to open things up. I think inevitably you end up thinking a bit more about a finish when you're a few frames down. You're a few frames up, perhaps naturally you just go for it, whereas now he's just trying to make absolutely sure in his own mind before he goes for anything. Oh, that's turned out well.
Oh, so good. So good. This finish looks very different now, doesn't it?
It was a really good cueing shot. In the end, it was a little fortunate the way the cannon worked out that it promoted the red so well. But he really hit that ball sweetly to get over that side in the first place. Positive signs in that he's still hitting the ball well. As you say, if he can just get out here, just needs to fade one break from Craig Waddingham, but that can be how quickly matches turn around. This match hasn't really been a tale of break clearances by any means, but no reason to think it couldn't turn into one. Did that pretty well, just got a slight angle to get back up the table. Obviously a must-win frame, can't afford to go 6-2 behind, that would almost certainly be too much.
Oh, we knew straight away he's overdone it. His window wasn't massive, but equally it's one you expected him to hit. He's overdone that by quite a bit.
Yeah, what's he left himself. Is it just the high tariff plant? I think it's going to have to be. It's the second ball a little bit away from the cushion. It's sort of an open enough shot that this is makeable. Oh, it's a good shot.
Wow. Wow, he was walking back to his chair. He cannot believe that is fallen. I can't believe it's fallen, in all honesty. And we have not seen many of these this weekend. Watch it here. I mean, you have to say in the end it's a great shot because it's gone in, but kind way of saying it was pocket weight, and we just haven't seen anything like that drop all tournament long.
It was almost exactly the right weight, wasn't it? Any slower, it doesn't quite have the legs to get in. Any faster, it bounces too hard off the first jaw. Good clearance, and an important clearance that from Scott Gillespie. Really flushed that break as well. He saw how straight the cue ball came up and down the centre of the table.
You'd have to say that the break's been kinder to Craig. You feel like they've both hit the break really well. I mean, this is another fabulous strike from Craig Waddingham. The cue ball straight up the middle of the table. Very little spin on it, and just all the power driven through the pack. And he's getting the results on the break where Scott Gillespie's just being tortured with it. Dry or making a ball and leaving nothing. This is a decent layout as well. Two reds on the right hand side break line. How do they unfold? They look like they're no problem whatsoever. If the bottom one of the two goes, does it open up the other one? Does the top one of the two go past the yellow? I think it's just all good.
Fairly similar patterns of play to Craig's quarter-finals in terms of the way the frames have played out. That match, Craig was always just a bit ahead of Stevie Dempsey. Dempsey kept hanging on in there, a bit like Scott Gillespie's doing here. Not putting immediate pressure on, but just close enough that you know the guy's there. In that match, at the very end, Craig just found a little bit extra, pulled away from Stevie. He's got a good chance to do exactly the same thing here.
Well, considering how good a layout this was, this is a much tougher red than he would have ever expected to be on. Just rolls it in like it's hanging over the pocket. Compromised position onto the 8 ball though. This for a 3-frame advantage with less than 9 minutes to play. Right in the heart of the pocket. Craig Waddingham one away from the final. Made a ball this time, and this time he does have a shot on, and he does have a good layout. Maybe they're getting kinder for him. This is exactly what he needed to try and get back.
That's all on the roll of one ball. That ball sauntering slowly towards the left centre. Looked like it might pull up short, but delighted to see it down. And this is a good chance. Gets it back to 6-4. Once again, he's just signalling to Craig that he's there. He's not immediately there, but he's close enough that you know a comeback is a possibility. And the match has noticeably quickened up. Very slow in the early going, but 8 minutes left. Still a chance of getting all the frames played if they are required. Bookmakers before the match were struggling to separate these two players, both in terms of their ultimate tournament success and outcome in this match, which ultimately kind of the same thing. Only one of them was ever going to get through to the final.
I think it's a fair assessment. It was just a tough one to pick, wasn't it? Still is, but Craig Waddingham definitely has the edge. But this is to get back within 2. Oh, he hasn't. Oh my word. Huge, huge error. Is this a poor contact? Is it a poor strike? Is it just a terrible shot? Oh, he's conceded. He's conceded the match here. Frustration has boiled over here for Scott Gillespie. He's not even going to try and come out of the snooker to get to this. He has decided enough is enough, and in a rather strange manner, Craig Waddingham books his place in Pro Series 7 final. Strange end to what was a very intriguing match, but the Silver Sniper is through.